People interpreted that variously. Some to say, well, this same minister has been denied access to those very premises, and yet she's in charge. So by her signing off and saying she's glad about the tour we are doing, but signs off by saying, I wish you a successful tour, no wonder we made the resistance that we made and we could not access. Honorable Speaker, it's important that this Parliament, and by extension the nation, gets to know who exactly is in charge of this project. Because the Ministry of Health, as far as I understand, it should be in charge of the project. We are told it is now Office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has said, no, it is Ministry of Health. Yesterday, the police officers and then military and so on, they kept telling us, you have not got clearance. I said, but this project is under Ministry of Health. Here is a letter of clearance from the Ministry of Health. So, Right Honorable Speaker, government needs to tell us who exactly is in charge of this project. The Minister of Internal Affairs should also explain to this House why members of Parliament have been denied access. Not just yesterday, but even in the past. Denied access by security outfits. Why? Because as Parliament, we appropriate this money, billions of shillings, on an annual basis. Why is it that now security does not want us to go and establish the money that we are sending? What is it doing? With your indulgence, Madam Speaker, I think the Minister of Internal Affairs needs to let this House know why, as Parliament, we cannot have access. You have said the Deputy Speaker should go there on Wednesday. As the Minister of Health has said, we wish him a successful tour. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Health and or the Minister of Finance should give a status update to this Parliament and account for the money so far spent. Because denying us access to these premises is a clear indication that maybe there's not much going on. So we want to appeal to you, Right Honorable Speaker.
There is a procedure matter.
My concern, Madam Speaker, so many of my honorable colleagues have talked about Lubowa, but there was one submission that was very critical that we should have listened to properly. The Honorable Mwangachifubi said the Auditor General went and did an audit on this project, and he was allowed time to understand the project. And he's about to bring that report to us. My procedure matter was, Madam Speaker, don't you think it would be procedurally right to wait for that report to come here? Possibly, it could answer most of the questions we're putting out, because the Auditor General, the Auditor General is part of Parliament. By the fact that he was allowed to access the site, do an audit, I believe he will give us the proper answers because he's part of this Parliament. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Hello.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Clearly, some things don't need to be responded to. I'm sure that's why, as Speaker, you have said I proceed. Right Honorable Speaker, as I was saying, we need to compel the Minister of Health and or the Minister of Finance to come to this Parliament, give us a status report and account for the money so far that has been spent on this project. Because we don't know what's going on there. We are denied access, and yet we appropriate this money. So the taxpayers are now blaming Parliament. They are saying, you people appropriate this money. What is it doing? Maybe you need to stop. So it's important that they come and account to us and by extension to the general public. With the Speaker's permission, I can take the information.
Thank you, Right Honorable. And Right Honorable Speaker, the information that I want to give this House is that the Women's Specialized and Neonatal Hospital, a 450-bed facility, was constructed at $34 million. The Lubowa Hospital is supposed to be a 200-bed hospital, and you know how much has been spent so far.
How much has been spent?
Madam Speaker,
Right Honorable Speaker.
so far 150 million US dollars so far.
It's over 5 times, yes, close to 5 times what was spent. Over 400 billion. I don't have the figure, yes.
Get the information from the minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the total project cost under Lubowa Hospital is 379 million 789 million US dollars.
Honorable members, listen.
We have so far paid through promissory notes an amount of United States dollars 156 million dollars.
So, Right Honorable Speaker, that's the information that I wanted this House to know as we talk about Lubowa. That with the $34 million, we were able to put up a 450-bed facility at Mulago for the women.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Law.
We actually intend to move this House via motion that, number one, even as we wait for that accountability, because money has been spent already and the Minister of Finance has confirmed. But one, that we halt as Parliament paying any more money to Lubowa Hospital. Because they are not accountable, we cannot access to see what's happening there. Let us hold. Because otherwise the taxpayer will blame us as Parliament. Number two, Right Honourable Speaker, we think that...
First of all, I want to find out, are there obligations that you've entered into that cannot be stopped in terms of promissory notes? Finance. I want to get the legal opinion to that effect.
Right Honourable Speaker, I think we need to look at the terms of the contract and understand that that question, I'm not in a position to answer it at this point. Whether there are any obligations that have been entered into which can't be stopped.
Okay.
Right Honourable Speaker, you see, the practice, financially and even legally, of promissory notes, before another promissory note is issued, the contractor is meant to give a certificate of milestone completion.
Yes.
And that's the accountability we want. So far, I mean, why do you keep issuing promissory notes?
Maybe we need to get the certificates of the milestone completion that were given to finance before finance made payments.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, and that's part of the accountability that we are demanding as Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, I think it would be prudent, and as colleague gave information, we have got hospitals in this country.
There is information.
Oh, yes, please.
Madam Speaker, we were told in this House that this contract was supposed to be executed in 2 years. And it is now coming to 7 years since this work began. I don't know if we are still going by the same contract and the same agreement and understanding that was presented to this House when we secured 396 billion shillings to facilitate that work to start. The work was supposed to be concluded in 2 years, had to be handed over to the government of Uganda after 8 years, and I don't know if that contract still stands.
Thank you for the information. Right Honourable Speaker, the agreement was revised for this engagement, Right Honourable Speaker. 2 things, maybe 3, are problematic. 1, the scope of the work was actually lessened, and yet the amount of money was increased. It does not quite make sense, because if the scope is lessened, then the money should lessen. However, that revised agreement has never been tabled here in Parliament. So why is government operating that way and you only come to Parliament as an ATM? Because the first agreement was tabled. The revised agreement, why has it not been tabled here in Parliament? Number two, Right Honorable Speaker, for that revision of the amount, it's Parliament that is meant to approve. When you say you want to revise the amount, and that's why it is important. Maybe I wait for the Chief Whip who is obstructing the Speaker. I apologize, Right Honorable Speaker. I wanted to catch your eye for this very critical issue, that the agreement was revised, the scope was lessened, but the amount was increased. However, that revised agreement has not been tabled here in Parliament. So we don't know what's going on. And also,
There's
Parliament has got
information.
to approve. I'll take the information.
High position in Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, just in relation to the point that the Leader of Opposition is bringing to this House. Madam Speaker, in the 10th Parliament, I happen to have been in the Committee of National Economy that processed this loan. Madam Speaker, one of the critical issues that the committee grappled with, first of all, just to add to what Honorable Jonathan Odur said, was that the Honorable Minister of Health was very hesitant in supporting this loan before our committee.
Which Minister of Health? Was it Acheng?
At that time, the Honorable Jane Ruth Acheng.
Oh, Opendi.
No,
I want it on record.
The Honorable Jane Ruth Acheng,
Not Opendi.
appeared.
Not
No,
Opendi.
the Honorable Pendi was a Minister of State for Health.
Okay.
Now, Madam Speaker, may I just, with your permission, elaborate on this point? At that point, the Ministry of Health themselves were a little bit worried about the competence and the experience of the leader in as far as the joint purpose vehicle was concerned, because that was Pinetti Enrica. Madam Speaker, when the committee got into a state where we had to make a decision, we unpacked the JPV, the joint purpose vehicle, and at that time, the committee was persuaded that Rocco was still very competent in as far as construction was concerned. In the JPV, we had been made to understand that Enrica would bring in, one, technical expertise, two, the competence. Whereas the person who was supposed to do the construction was the partner, who was Rocco. Madam Speaker, within 2 weeks of passing the loan here, Rocco was thrown out of the JPV. This brought in a challenge that Enrica did not have the competence to undertake construction because they were simply agents of persons who were supposed to supply us the equipment and train the experts that were supposed to work in the hospital. That is the reason, as of today, Enrica cannot take off from the aspect of construction because they do not have the capacity to undertake construction. Madam Speaker, as I informed the law, what therefore baffles this House is that if the total amount of the loan was $379 million, how possible is it that the Ministry of Finance continued to pay up to $150 million, and yet the total amount included equipment, included training of specialists, included transfer of knowledge, which are other aspects other than the construction? Number two, Honorable Law, the other question other than simply reduction in the scope of works, the loan that this House passed included a partner in the JPV. Which partner? That was Rocco. This House understood would undertake the construction. Who then, other than this Parliament, authorized Enrique Pinetti to undertake the aspect of construction? It means that already the JPV or the agreement with Uganda had been abused by the other person, and therefore it should have collapsed. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank you, Honorable Law.
Honorable members, thank you so much, Honorable Rico, on that. As you conclude, Law, Honorable Chivumbi already asked for the audit report, which is before the auditors, and then we'll also expect a report from the team that is going there on Wednesday. We'll expect a report on that, and then we'll also need the certificates from finance that they based on what release of the monies.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, and for the information the colleagues have raised. Madam Speaker, as we speak now, there is no contractor on site because ROCO abandoned the site. However, as you remember, in December, 2.7 billion shillings through a supplementary was allotted to supervise ongoing construction. Which construction? I think we are taking the taxpayer for granted in very annoying ways. Because you're saying we need money, 2.7 billion, just to supervise construction. But there's no constructor on site, he abandoned. Our hope, lastly, on this very issue, Right Honourable Speaker, we would like to move Parliament. Can we begin to allocate this money to the referrals that we have in this country, to the health center force that are functional, they are operating, but they are struggling with shortages of drugs, medical equipment, and so on. At least there we know we are sending money where it is needed.
And the staff, for instance, we passed along the organ transplant. They don't have staff. The dialysis, they don't have staff. The ICU of Mulago does not have staff. And yet we have the best equipment in this country. So we should put that money in that. Honorable members, Love, thank you so much.
Madam Speaker, I request for 2 minutes to wrap up about some very critical issues that we've been grappling with. Legally, the wording of these bills, it's going to raise unnecessary legal challenges.
That is going to be responded to.
Yeah. Number two, Right Honourable Speaker and members, you see, these entities were created for efficiency. Now that we are saying, let's send them back to the ministries, what guarantee do we have that efficiency has been created? So all is going to be well. An example, Right Honourable Speaker, REA was rationalized.
Now. You've started an anticipation.
I was just giving a general picture in response to your
Because you're still going to speak. You're still going to speak as a law after they have presented.
That's right. I was just giving this example to paint a general. So I was saying, when REA was rationalized and merged with the Ministry of Energy, that money which REA was meant to receive to other activities. So the activities that REA was undertaking have come to a halt. So as we are saying, rationalizing, let's take them back to the ministries for efficiency to happen, it does not seem to be the case. And Right Honourable Speaker, government needs to come clean. What exactly are they trying to do? Even as they are rushing Parliament, let's deal with this issue very critically. We need to be guarded ourselves as Parliament so that we are not run through a brick wall.
But by the way, nobody is rushing Parliament. The issue is, yes, if we are to rationalize, if we are to remove these entities, some of these entities, we are in a budgeting process. When you look at the budget circular, none of these entities has been budgeted for. It has not been budgeted for. So we need to act as a house. If you want these institutions to remain without money and we say, okay, let's also sit back, because the power to rationalize is on us. So it is us to determine whether we rationalize and have the money put there. But now the fact that finance has decided not to give these people money, what do? We need to come in as an institution. Honorable members.
Right Honourable, as I wrap up, this is... Right Honourable Speaker, I actually
can you have a seat?
Right Honourable Speaker, you're right, the power to rationalize lies with Parliament. The executive seems to be taking that away from us because they have rationalized on the financial end. They're saying, we are not budgeting for these ones. So it's as if Parliament is being arm twisted. let's retain that power and we process all of this work without being arm twisted by the executive. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members. My women, please. Those are all yellow. They are represented by Honorable Opolot Ishagi.
Speaker, you proceed about seeking guidance because you have asked the Deputy Speaker to go to Lubowa
With a team of
with the team.
members.
So I'm wondering how reporting is going to be done, Madam Speaker. So that's procedure issue I wanted just for clarity.
The reporting will be done by the members. I want to see how they can refuse the Deputy Speaker to enter. Have you understood?
Madam Speaker, while we read the bills accompanied with the certificate of financial implications in accordance with Section 76 of the Public Finance Management Act, during the process of consideration of the bills, an issue arose regarding providing the committees with the certificate of financial implications indicating the estimates of revenue and expenditure over the period not less than 2 years after the coming into effect of the bill when we pass it. Madam Speaker, we agree that in compliance with this section, all this information should be provided, and as I speak now, a copy of the bills capturing all this information is being delivered to your office, Madam Speaker. And I will
Can I have the certificates?
I will be laying copies here shortly, Madam Speaker.
Can we have them? Honorable members, the Honorable Minister said he's going to have individual certificate in compliance with the Section 76(2), and is going to lay on table. So, Honorable Minister, so could you, instead of wasting time taking them to my office, because it's a longer distance, can they just bring and we lay them on the table?
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, we realized there was a mess up. I don't want to say mistake. There was a mess up, and that is what is being corrected. It was an oversight, maybe. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, for the bill to be a bill before the House for amendment, it must be accompanied by a certificate of financial regulations. Does he mean that now we don't have the bills? We don't have them because there is no certificate. That's what
we agreed the bills be sent to the committees. It is from the committees that we've realized there was a mistake on the certificates, which must be corrected. And the Honorable Duru the other day offered a very free.
Right Honorable Speaker, there is another mistake there. Non-existent act to be amended.
I have told you, keep your cool. We are sorting out issues one. We've sorted the one of financial implication, certificate of financial implication. Can we have the one of Attorney General?
When those bills were brought here, I actually did raise on a matter of procedure regarding the certificates. Madam Speaker, I don't want to go into what has been administratively handled. I sit on the committee on legal. I know the committee has been in touch with you.
With
But
me?
the procedure, the committee, yes. The committee did
I've
even,
not been in touch with the committee as a person.
as a speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry. Madam Speaker, this is a very, very serious matter, grave. Kindly allow the Attorney General to tell this Parliament that a bill that was brought in that fashion will not have to first be withdrawn for it to be introduced. I want Madam Speaker, the Attorney General, to tell us, because this is a precedent that we are setting as Parliament, that they can throw documents and then begin correcting them haphazardly like they brought them. So I will be, Madam Speaker, if you allow, comforted. If the Attorney General says, no, they don't need to first withdraw the bills, they just bring things the way they like.
They drawn. We are correcting what was being done, what we have. Attorney General.
Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, I'll first answer Honorable Semju's issue. The bills that were here were presented with certificates of financial implication, albeit they were not sufficient and they are being amended. I am of the considered opinion that that amendment would suffice. On the second issue, Right Honorable Speaker, in respect to the title that Honorable Eddie Quizer has raised, the bills that were presented this House are titled the rationalization, for example, the rationalization of government agencies, for example, Trade Sector Amendment Bill 2024. Some of these bills most of these bills that are before Parliament on RAPEX seek to repeal, amend, or enact more or affect more than one act. This can be described normally as a large bill affecting different acts, generally called smaller bills within that thing on the broad topic before the House. The subject of all these bills is rationalization of government agencies. And the general rule is that Parliament has the power to make laws on any matter for the peace, order, or development of good governance in Uganda. That's under Article 79 of the Constitution. And to enable Parliament to process these bills efficiently and effectively, the rules of procedure were put in place. And the rules of procedure do not refuse or bar Parliament from handling bills of this nature. In fact, the bills that had been brought earlier were even more omnibus, but now they have been reduced into sector spaces. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the RAPEX bills may have disparate matters that are not necessarily directly related to the matter of the subject, but are in respect to the general government policy. The common form of the RAPEX bills that are before you, Honorable Speakers and colleagues, covers disparate matters, and this can be done in miscellaneous bills. Such bills deal with amendments of laws related or unrelated to the subject matter that require demands of government policy to be addressed. Honorable colleagues, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, a good example of a law such as this one is the Law Reform Miscellaneous Amendment Act of 2023, which we just recently passed. In one act, we amended, repealed over 90 acts of Parliament. Another law that has been passed by this House is the Law Revision, Penalties in Criminal Matters, Miscellaneous Amendment Act. That act affects so many other acts, all of them in respect to a similar subject, which will be the penalties. Similarly, the Business Licensing Miscellaneous Repeals Act 2015 repealed redundant business licenses under several amendments, including the Produce Protection Act, the Fish Act, Hides and Skin Export Duty Act, Rivers Act, and the Companies Act. The Act also rationalized and simplified government business processes and practices and procedures under those laws to eliminate the multiplicity and overlap of business licenses. Whereas the RAPEX bills that are before you, Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, touches upon several laws and matters, all these bills fall under the ambit of the law as matters connected to the government rationalization policy. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the title of a bill is part of the bill. And when the executive proposes a title of the bill, it does not in any way deter Parliament from amending that bill. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, I refer you to Rule 124.20. It says, if any amendment to the title of the bill is made necessary by any an amendment to the bill, it shall be made at the conclusion of the proceedings detailed above. But no question shall be put that the title as amended stands part of the bill, or shall any question be put upon enacting a formula. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, as you consider the various rationalization bills before you, I request that you also consider at the time, if you deem it appropriate, if you deem it necessary to amend the titles of the bill, we propose that the bills be referred to as they are presented before you, but we leave that to the House. I beg to submit, I think.
With the issue of this rampant killing, we need to find out why are we having a lot of guns in the public. We need to find that out. For example, these people who killed the Omukuru Wechika, the head of the clan of Wundiga, these are people who are civilians. The system of people having guns irregularly, Madam Speaker, is growing day by day. Lastly, Madam Speaker, in this house of ours, we have ministers who are ex-officials, who don't have constituencies, but some of them are very irregular here. For example, there are a number of issues raised in Parliament concerning the President, and these issues must be responded to by the Minister for Presidency. But this is one of the members who are very irregular here, but is always seen in public gallery, in rallies, and elsewhere. The appointment of a minister to be Minister for Presidency is because he comes here to represent the President, and in matters incidental to the President, she has powers to respond to our issues here other than anybody, not even giving a speaker duress. Lastly, Madam Speaker, why? We are here. We are now 2 years back without having a substantive governor of Bank of Uganda. And they have taken us to court, saying that the money we are using in this country is irregular. Because you cannot deputize someone who is not around. How do you deputize someone who is not around? So Atingo, the Deputy Governor Bank of Uganda, is using his name to sign on money as Deputy Governor without a substantive governor. And the Attorney General, that is yours, and the Minister for Presidency. What are you doing? Don't we have educated people to run that office? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister, on your missing ministers.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the government chief whip came up, made a rota for ministers' attendance in Parliament. So, Minister for Presidency is not here. I think it's because of the rota for today.
Government Chief Whip. Government Chief Whip.
Right, Honorable Speaker, it is known that I laid on table the rota for all ministries, departments, and agencies of government. I wish you could give me some few minutes to read under office of the President who is meant to be in Parliament today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney General.
Honorable Speaker, yes, as we all know, no governor has been appointed at this point, but for me, it is wrong to say that the deputy governor cannot perform those functions. Now, the question of how long it would take.
The Bank of Uganda Act does not specify how long one can act.
I beg you.
And in the absence, the Bank of Uganda Act says, in the absence of governor, the deputy will be in charge.